Hey, what's up? This is Ang here. This video is a bit of a 2-for-1 special because it is all about Cav Empt. So on the one side, we're going to look at a bit of a sort of fit guide, a size guide of this kind of thing, because people do often say that the fit or the sizing is a little bit unusual and it can be quite tricky to get the right size. We're also going to talk about Cav Empt's relationship with Techwear. Why does it keep popping up so much in Techwear outfits? What makes it appropriate? First up, let's talk about fit and sizing, because it seems like it's not that easy to get a straight answer on what kind of size you should buy for Cav Empt. A lot of people, if you ask them, will say, Cav Empt fits wide and boxy. It's wide and boxy. Well, what exactly does that mean, and how does that affect what sort of size you should buy? So I picked up this Cav Empt crewneck sweater on Mr. Porter earlier this week, and on the model they had a size medium, and this guy was a chest size 38. Now I'm a 38 as well, and I would normally buy large in stuff. So this jumper here, for example, is a large. So I thought, maybe it fits a little bit bigger than it normally does. It seemed to look fine on him, So what I did was I bought a medium and a large. So then we get to compare the two and we can see exactly what they're like. So this one here is the medium one, and although it looked fine on the model, and it does seem to look okay in terms of sort of chest width and arm width, the length of this was definitely way too short. And that's kind of what people mean when they say that Cav Empt is boxy and that it does come up shorter than most things do. It's kind of sitting basically on my belt, so as soon as I move my arms, it's just going to totally lift up. Doesn't really look great. So next up, I tried the large version, and this did give an extra couple of inches on the length, as well as a little bit more room on the arms and the chest as well. So this ended up having a bit more of a kind of oversized looking fit everywhere else, and it was still short on the length, but definitely not as bad and definitely a lot more passable than the medium one. So what exactly does this mean? Well, first of all, it means that it's going to be quite difficult to get a regular fit on a Cav Empt jumper. If you like things that are quite slim fitting on your top half, then Cav Empt is not the one for you, because it does have extra space around the arms and the chest than an average jumper would. The second thing is that it's much more height dependent than an average jumper. So I'm very much above average height. I'm about 6'1", 6'2", and that meant that I pretty much had to go one size above what you perhaps should take in Cav Empt because of that length. The medium one, which is what the model was wearing, was definitely too short. But if you're significantly shorter than I am, maybe 5'9", 5'10 kind of level, or shorter than that, then you could take that smaller size and it would probably look fine. The length issue wouldn't be quite so much of a problem. And I do feel like the size down, the 38 chest size that the model was wearing, did definitely look okay on me. It was literally just that length. Do take this with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because I do wear some things in medium and some things in large anyway, but I would say that in general, large is my regular size. So if you're relatively tall like I am, or you've just got a really long torso, then definitely go true to size. But if you're kind of on the shorter side, then you could probably go for that slightly smaller size and you'll probably be okay. Of course, if you do like having that nice, big, wide, oversized fit, then you can go for the larger one anyway. So hopefully that was useful if you were looking to pick up some Cav Empt. Hopefully it saves you having to order multiple sizes, or maybe you're a little bit more sure of buying things if you're looking to purchase second hand. So before I move on, just to give my thoughts very quickly on this jumper, I think it looks really cool, obviously, which is why I decided to pick it up. I think the graphic is awesome. It's not too crazy or heavy. Some Cav Empt stuff can be like super bright colors or just have stuff going on everywhere. But this isn't too over the top. I also really like the coloring. I think the off-white and black looks really nice together. And just fit-wise, I think it looks pretty good on me as well. Unbeknownst to me, quite a few other people thought the same thing. So both Jail and Kevin from Fashion Forward Always have the same jumper. Didn't really know that before I bought it, but I've joined the club, I guess. Okay, so next section, why Cav Empt? What is it about the Cav Empt aesthetic, which seems to lend itself quite nicely to Techwear? Why does it keep popping up in Techwear fits? Well, I think there are 3 main reasons for this. Number one, we've kind of already talked about it, and that is the fit of these things. Often Techwear looks have a mix between quite spacious or quite relaxed elements, and then more tapered, kind of tighter ones. And Cav Empt fits into that quite nicely. As you saw on me, the main body of that jumper is pretty oversized, quite loose, but then it cuts in quite a lot because it is quite short, and it has that cuff at the bottom as well as on the arms. And Techwear, a lot of Techwear clothing does a similar sort of thing. If you look at your classic pair of Techwear cargos, for example, they'll be quite relaxed around the top, and then they'll taper down to something much slimmer at the bottom. In jackets as well, a lot of people will do stuff like they'll have the top of it zipped up, and then it'll be unzipped at the bottom, so there's much more space around the bottom compared to the top. So Cav Empt stuff kind of does the opposite of that, where there's a bit of space up here, and then it sort of cuts in more towards the waist. On a related note, Techwear does often take inspiration from Japan and Asian culture. Cav Empt is a Japanese brand, so it's designed in Japan, and a lot of it is actually made in Japan as well. So one could say designed to fit a Japanesey aesthetic or a silhouette. So a little bit more subtle, but definitely some kind of fit-based relationship there as well. The second thing pertains to colour and graphics. So a lot of Cav Empt stuff is either quite neutral or quite black and white in colour, and then either the graphics are black and white also, or they can be very, very vivid, sort of like pops of colour amongst much more neutral or dark coloured bases. Techwear, of course, is very similar, traditionally based on either a black or a very neutral palette, with the occasional little pop of colour. For example, those acronym Presto Vaults that came out, and there's the odd other piece as well, which just has those kind of bright shocks of colour mixed in with something that's quite neutral and dark. So of course, you stick a Cav Empt piece in there, and then you've got another thing which is quite neutral, with maybe the odd little bit of colour or design-based interest. The graphics as well fit in quite nicely with this. A lot of the imagery that Skatething uses in designing these is heavily technology-based, or a little bit kind of dystopian, near-futuristic kind of thing, which Techwear also takes a lot of its inspiration from. The placement of those graphical elements I think is important as well. Cav Empt isn't all sort of box logos and things in the centre. You'll often find graphical elements on shoulders or on the side or on the back or in all kinds of unusual places, and Techwear has some kind of relationship with that as well, and that you'll often find angled zips, you'll find off-centre pockets, you'll find features and things that perhaps are in a slightly different place to what you're used to, or there's just simply more of them. The third point is about the messaging behind the brand. So Cav Empt stands for Caveat Emptor, which means from Latin, let the buyer beware. So it's a bit of a warning against material consumption. It's kind of saying that the buyer should be the sole person responsible for the quality or the look and the value, basically, of everything that they're buying, and it shouldn't be determined by any kind of external forces. Alongside this, you often find messaging on Cav Empt stuff, sort of things being thrown away, or slogans about products designed to give an illusion of a fulfilling life. The irony of that, of course, is that Cav Empt is in itself a little bit of a hyped brand. So there are certainly people buying it who don't necessarily value it for themselves, who are buying it based on that social perception of Cav Empt being valuable. So I think this connects to Techwear in two ways. First of all, the kind of dystopian or cyberpunk near-future scenarios, which Techwear often kind of borrows its design elements from. They often are very brand-saturated, and there's definitely a relationship between, cyberpunk, dystopian future, with late-stage capitalism and mass advertising and overconsumption. So that Cav Empt message about, designed to live a fulfilling life is kind of a bit of a forewarning almost of that kind of scenario, which Techwear does have a relationship with. I mentioned earlier about the slight irony surrounding Cav Empt, that it's a brand that kind of rejects brand hype, but then somehow has sort of become a bit hyped in itself. I think that sort of irony is mirrored in Techwear. At face value, Techwear has a little bit of an anti-branding sentiment. If you ask people what makes Techwear Techwear, they'll talk about the performance of something, they'll talk about Gore-Tex materials, they'll talk about extra functionality like gravity pockets and jacket slings that you wouldn't get on any other kind of jacket or any other product. And also, you look at some of the most popular Techwear brands and pieces out there, often they have almost no branding whatsoever. Take acronym stuff, for example, Arc'teryx Valence. All of those are very, very clean looking. It's not like streetwear. There is no kind of brand in the middle to let everyone else know exactly what you're wearing. However, within Techwear culture, you'll find very quickly that the same kind of brand worship that exists in streetwear still happens in Techwear, even though that very obvious branding isn't necessarily present. People will get very excited over acronym pieces, for example. Acronym sells out very, very quickly. And although part of that interest certainly is because of those technical performance features, there's certainly also a part which is about acronym, the brand itself, about that idea of owning an acronym piece, the sort of pinnacle of Techwear. So although Techwear puts out that image of features and performance, and Cav Empt puts out that image of knowledge about the way that capitalism or the market works, underneath that, there's still a very real chance of people buying it because it is a cool or a hyped brand or a cool thing to wear. Now, I'm not going to preach to anyone about, reject society's values, just buy what you want, man, because I think it basically is impossible to totally forget about the societal value of something before you buy it. But the key thing to take away from this is that both Cav Empt and Techwear, they both give a kind of appearance of rejecting that surface level consumerism or branding. So for those reasons, I'm not too surprised that Cav Empt seems to be showing up more and more in Techwear outfits, and why I think that it's quite an appropriate fit for those two things to so often be shown together. But do let me know what you guys think on this matter, if you think that Cav Empt does kind of look cool with Techwear, or whether you think Cav Empt is maybe a bit too like on the streetwear-y side, and you want to keep Techwear pure or whatever. Either way, let me know what you think, and of course let me know what you think about that sweater that I picked up earlier, that crew neck jumper rather I should say. And if you've got any other cool recommendations of Cav Empt stuff that's coming out soon, I'd very much like to check those out. But that's been everything on this one, so thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, of course, do make sure to give it a little thumbs up. I super appreciate it. And as always, I will catch you next week in the next video. Shout out to Hector Canas, thank you, I'm glad you like my feet. And shout out to Jashfuck, I do try and keep a little bit of a balance between the like higher end stuff and the more affordable stuff. But there will be certainly more affordable Techwear type content coming in the future, and there's been a few recently as well. There was the Yamoro stuff. In a lot of these top 5s, I do try and include some kind of cheaper or more affordable things. If you like this video and you want to see some more, there will be some links going up there, so you can check those out. And if you haven't ring-a-dinged my little ding-a-ling, then you can do that right there, and then you can subscribe, and then I'll be very happy.